Hello, 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 hello. This is G. We're going to talk about June. Finally, we've got some big things to talk about, even though there's no eclipse in the month of June. We're just coming out of our Mercury retrograde. And, well, let's see where this happens for you, Aries, because it's in the sign of Taurus. Money, love, desire, all the things that pretty much that we need, right? So when we get into June, like really, truly, right in the first part of the month of June, Mercury is like around 15, 16 degrees. And so it just gets out of its retrograde zone. And being out of its retrograde zone, there's like alarm bells going off in my head because it's money, it's banking, it could be money in your bank. It could be whatever you have that you consider a value. I know a friend and or I can't remember who this was, but somebody I was talking with. Oh, okay, I remember now. They were talking about how they had just been gifted a rug. They said it was a handmade or hand sewn or something Turkish rug, right? That was quite old. And stuff like that would be under the Taurus energy because it's like it's something somebody created. It's an antique. It's like fine art in a sense because it's going to hold its value. And that's what Taurus wants, stuff that can hold its value. It's like gold and silver, something I can hold in my hand. The whole saying, if you can hold it, you own it, right? Because everyone's like, "Oh, heck no on crypto and don't do Bitcoin and don't do, all that because you can't hold it," right? Same with the NFTs. You can't hold it. If you can't hold it, you don't own it, right? So anyway, it doesn't have to be just about those things, but we think of the earth because Taurus is all about the earth. But for you, Aries, you're quite fiery and you're all about taking action. And your energy, depending upon other things in your chart, and if you don't have your chart and you want it, comment to me so I can get it to you. Okay. I try to help people out in any way that I can. And the only way to truly go deeper on these videos, if that's your thing, is to have your chart in front of you, because then I'm going to talk about a degree. You heard me say Mercury at 16 degrees. So if you had your chart, you'd be like, so where is 16 degrees of Taurus? Because it's Mercury in Taurus. And it's that simple. It's like a treasure hunt. At least I see it that way. Like, ooh, this is the key. I'm getting a clue, 16 degrees of Taurus. And so I go and I find that in my chart, the 16 degrees. And I'm like, what house is this in? Is there something there, like a planet or a house cusp line, right? And if there is, then you tell me in the comments, like, gee, there's something here. This is, I think, what this is. Can you tell me a little bit more? Do you know? And I can usually give you a little bit more information. Okay. So you comment below if you're interested in that. And if not, then no worries. Just listen to the video. So Mercury's talking in communication and news. Now, we've been hearing a lot about, the social platforms and all that nonsense. And I don't need to go into details and I don't want to spend your time. I really would rather talk about you and how you are, because knowing how you are and how what drives you and what your passions are, because that's your Aries energy, your drives and your passions, right? Finding with the planet Mars in your chart will then take you to that next level, because Mars rules the sign of Aries. And so that gives you that extra bit of information about yourself, right? So understanding that and you be able to see it in your own life. These are the things that I like. I don't sit on. I take action. I do something about it. And I even feel driven, right? I feel like I would even fight for it because that's Aries energy, very fiery. The beautiful thing about Arian energy is they are almost lack of fear at times. At times it can feel like they're just like there's no limit Like they can go on that adventure. They can go where no one's gone before. They want to be first. They want to be out front. They don't need to have a group of people around them because it's independent action. That's Aries. Independent action. Like, I am okay if I got to do this alone. I got no problem because they want to be first. And being independent is important because it's a way where they are truly satisfying that desire, that passion, and that drive of freedom. Big deal with Aries energy. Freedom, body, autonomy, my identity, how I look, my appearance, how I choose to identify. Or for some people, it's not about choice. You're just born and you identify as you were just born that way, right? It's not really, you know, when we say choose to identify, not everybody has the luxury of choosing. It's just like, but this is who I am, damn it. This is who I am. So identity, your identity, really a big deal, and willing to fight for that. But the freedoms of our actions, especially of our own body. So the golden rule, if it harm none, let it be done. The actions of your own body, right? A big deal. And your body and who you are and your independent spirit and your fire and that optimism and that beautiful Aryan spark that at times seems almost innocent. Almost innocent. When you look at a small child and you could see that innocence in their eyes, right? And that is the spirit of Aryan energy. It's the child that's just learned how to crawl. They've been crawling for a couple of weeks, and so they're getting a little bit more, they're kind of pulling on things and trying to stand up, and then they're even crawling to the edge of the stairs, and you're like, "Oh shit." And they don't even comprehend, like, holy crap. You see it that they're just like all about, let's just do this. And it's like, holy crap, whoa, slow down. Everyone's freaking out, but the Aries baby, but the Aryan person isn't freaking out. They're just like, we're doing this, and they just charge forward. And so there's always that caution with Aryan energy because sometimes we're looking downwards and using the Aries, the ram, right? We're using our head to just charge forward. And if we do that, like, our eyes aren't looking, we're not looking first where we're headed to. And so Aryan energy is so magnificently beautiful, especially as it ages. It's really because it still has that youthful spark to it. There's fun, there's optimism, there's just a brilliance to it, this fiery brilliance. And so there are times it can be difficult to be around that energy, right? And I know I can say this is as much as I have of one energy. Oh my God, I got a lot of Aryan energy too. And so I see where it's like, okay, you're being a little naive, G, or you're being a little like, uh, you know, yeah, you need to think a little bit more. Stop just acting and think a little bit more. Stop just, taking that action and think it through. Think those next steps through and see, if it makes sense, and maybe talk to some people who are better at whatever it is you're thinking about, right? So for Aries energy, this first part of the month is big because that energy of our money and our values that I talked about with Mercury, this is in your house of income and money and your values. You got Taurus in your second house. So that is money and values, money in my bank, values, whether it's your commodities, your home, right? Your job, your income, how I receive. That's Taurus, how I receive. Okay. So if you have like a house cusp line, or if you have, a planet there, we're looking around 15, even like 14, 15, 16 degrees. But let me tell you something. Around this time, like the 3rd, the 4th, we've got Mercury getting close to Uranus. And that's like news and information, but things that are going to be shocking because it's Mercury and Uranus together. And Uranus is normally someone that represents someone that's in charge. Okay. Mercury is going to be more like coworkers, friends, my sibling, a peer, right? Possibly, people even in your neighborhood, next door neighbors, or a housemate even, right? So information, talking, communication from people I know, possibly the coworkers, but our values are involved here in some way. And then remember that Uranus energy is a shock surprise, but somebody that's in charge, someone who is kind of like an authority figure. All right. So you could get some information. This could be at your job. This could be somebody in your life. For some of you, if you have other things in your chart that set up a trine in the earth and the earth houses, so that's Virgo and Capricorn. If you have trines, if you have planets that are at like 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 degrees, even 20 and 21, there's a big orb here because Mercury travels, right? And then it hits Uranus. It conjuncts it, okay? So I'm combining a few things together. I'm combining that Mercury just coming out of its retrograde in your house of money and moolah, right? And then Uranus there. Okay. Now, the other big thing about this month is that we know Jupiter entered into Taurus energy. Yeah, your second house of money. Jupiter entered there in the middle of May. So you might have noticed some changes. Jupiter is normally very beneficial. So if you were hoping to get a job, and you were like, "Hey, what's going on?" All of a sudden, you might get that phone call. Maybe you got that phone call, but I was cautioning, I was telling most people to like, don't like to have more patience because we were waiting for Mercury to get the hell out of its retrograde and out of its shadow zone. And it doesn't get out of that zone until the beginning of June. So it's like June is like the rubber hitting the cement. Things start to stabilize in June. We're getting information. Is the job a go or a no? We're getting like it's more clear information because we are feeling more stable. Not just you when I say we, I'm talking about government and business. We're getting more of a hold on the reality because Mercury was going through the books. All of April and May, Mercury was going through the books and paying attention to, okay, what do we really have? What are our real assets here? Like what's real? Like what do we have to work with? And then once it understood that, it sends the message and it says, okay, here's our new budget. Here's what we can do. Because up until after then, it wasn't sure. It was changing its mind because it thought it had it figured out, but it didn't. So this is your values. This is your money. This is your income, possibly work. Okay. And so that's how your June kicks off. Now, that's not all. When we get to actually, this is all within the same time period. It starts the beginning of June all the way until like June. Let me see here. All the way until June 5th. Okay. There's a full moon during that time. And this full moon represents a release and an ending and a closure. Okay. And so because it's in your place of your ninth house, which is how I believe and what I believe in, and it's all about traveling. The ninth house for you, think Sagittarius, it's all about the freedom to travel, the freedom of my beliefs, my religion, my spirituality, the judicial system, and how all that works. I know in the United States, we've got like a whole crap load of stuff with like our Supreme Court judges and all that hot mess. And so it's beliefs. It's your beliefs. It's your beliefs. There's wisdom here, but there's a release here. So it's when I say spirituality and religion and beliefs and philosophy on life, there's something you're releasing and letting go. So if you've got your chart, you're looking at the degrees of 13, 17. That's where the full moon occurs. It's a release. So it's an orb. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 degrees, 2 degrees orb before and after. You're releasing something. You could even be releasing judgments, unconscious judgments you would have on others. Maybe it's exaggerations. Maybe it's travel plans, right? I'm looking at my notes here. Publishing. There might even be a bit of confidence, spirituality, and religion. Some are religious leaders and speakers and preachers that we're like, I'm done with that, right? It's just some sort of a release and a belief about all those things. Okay. So now we move on a little bit further through the month and we're going to talk about your new moon. And the new moon is a new beginning. And the new beginning is in your third house. This is a big deal for you, Aries, because the third house, again, it relates to the Mercury that I talked about at the beginning of the month. Now, this new moon energy is around the 17th and the 18th of June. the 17th and the 18th. Let me write that down right there. I'll have it memorized as I go along, but 17th and 18th, it's at 26:43, which is 27-degree new moon in Gemini, talking, thinking, communicating, siblings, coworkers, my local community, my local businesses, the housing market, the stock market, commercial real estate, all real estate, okay? And that's all these keywords are the same keywords for the beginning of the month of June. Okay, I know I just threw in some extra keywords because we're now talking about Gemini and in Mercury, but it's the same stuff. Okay, it's the same stuff. And so this Mercury, there's a fast thing happening because it's Gemini energy and it's a new moon. Mercury rules this new moon. You follow? Because it's a new moon in Gemini. So when we think of Mercury with schools and learning, taking up something, learning something new. It's in your third house of learning something new. You like to learn, right? You've got your Gemini energy there. So I'm either going to school or maybe it's not to like a traditional school. Maybe I'm just selling something. Especially here in the States in our season, summertime, I'm going to the farmer's market. Maybe I'm going to be selling some things, right? It's the merchant. It's sales, it's business and trade, right? Some sort of a new beginning. And also, let's not forget it's Gemini energy. So this is also social media, social platforms, all the digital platforms. There might be some digital things as far as digital currencies involved because of the Mercury issue that we had at the beginning of the month in Taurus. So there might be some of that happening, some connections to that. Social platforms, merchants, coworkers. Let me read automobiles. Uh, yeah, I think I've said everything. The only thing I didn't say, which is the number one thing, whenever you hear the word Gemini or Mercury, is the way you think and talk and communicate. Remember, everything begins with your thoughts. So there's something new here, something that's got this flexible vibration to it. It's like I can pivot. So I might be the great multitasker at that time. Maybe I'm doing multiple things, learning multiple things, but definitely busy and communicating. So this is emails, this is snail mails, this is phone calls, I'm making contact with people, I'm moving and shaking, like I am making stuff happen. Your Aries making stuff happen. I got a kitty cat who wants to come up. This is Taffy, and I'm praying she doesn't use her nails. We didn't cut them yet. Come on, Taff. Come on and join in. She's like, are we having dinner anytime soon? So, Aries, what I want to close your video off with is if you have been waiting for a job, whether it's news about an opportunity, maybe there was, interviews that you had been on, possibly, because Jupiter in Taurus is normally I'm bringing gifts and I'm beneficial and something good can happen. Again, if you got your chart and you're not positive or you need a clarification, you just comment to me. I can take quick peeks at your chart. I can confirm or deny and give you a little bit of extra information to help clarify what the hell this may mean for you, especially if you have things at the degrees that I've mentioned. All right. Because for some of you, it can be extremely beneficial. And for others, you may have some things in your chart that square it or angle it in ways where it's like, okay, it can bring in ease, but it's not like the grand earth trine ease or grand air trine ease, right? So there's different levels, and you would know because this is all based on if you've had things in the pot that you were stirring, like you were already working on something, right? You were already looking for a new job, right? So keep all these little tidbits in mind, and I hope that this helps you out with the energies for June of 2023, Aries. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear just what this is for you in your life and how things have been so far, because Aries has been waiting for a good break and waiting just for something optimistic and positive and for something to be just to feel more free and not so restrained. So thank you, Aries, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Below the video, I'll have all the degrees for those of you who like to pay attention to the degrees in your chart. Again, if you don't know and you want to know, just comment below.